Hi students, Mr. Martinez here. Hey, I want to talk to you about picking a good question for your science experiment. Really, that's like the core thing you have to do to get started, right? Is plan a really good investigation question. So there's some key things you got to make sure you do as you're planning your question. The first one is pick something that interests you. If you're into sports or if you're into something in particular, hopefully you can pick something that you're fascinated about. That's going to help you along, and it's going to maintain your interest as you do your experiment. The second thing is try to choose something that you have the materials for. If you got stuff around the house that can help you to get it done, it's going to really take stress off you, and it's not going to require that you go out and buy things. Then that'll be great. If there's something that you really are interested in and you are capable of getting materials, then by all means, I don't want to limit you. But just be conscious of whatever experiment you choose. If you want to talk about, hey, how do African lilies grow in Southern California climate, and you don't have access to those plants, that might be a really difficult project to take on, all right? The last thing is just don't overthink it. Don't spend so much time on this portion of the experiment that you don't get started. So I've come up with a few different ideas that I think are available to you guys. They don't require a lot of materials. And right now that we're doing distance learning, I think they'd be really good candidates, okay? So how do masks, these face masks that we've been wearing, how do they affect facial expression communication? So most of us have some of these available to us right now, and we might be able to do some research and ask some questions and even do an investigation about that. How does exercise affect, or what effect does exercise have on your body temperature? So maybe if you have a thermometer at home, is really the only thing you'd need. You have yourself, you could conduct some exercise and see how that impacts your body temperature. And how do those exercises, or how do different types of movement affect your heart rate? Once again, something that you don't need a lot of materials for. And lastly, what is the best way to clean a copper penny? So most of us have some household materials that are at home that we could try. Maybe we have like vinegar or some different solutions. You don't want to use anything too harsh here, so we can talk about that in a little more detail. And lastly, I don't want to limit you to the four projects that I've chosen. So if you have something else that you have in mind that you really are passionate about, by all means, you can choose that to be your science experiment or your science question, but you got to get approval from me, okay? So hopefully that helps. Actually, I'm going to expand on one more thing. So when you choose your question, you got to make sure you choose something that is testable, okay? I know I don't want to drag this out, but there are testable science questions and there are non-testable. So let me show you some of the differences. So let me take a look at the sheet that I have on the screen. First off, non-testable question: how do plants grow? Well, that's a good question. It's interesting and something we can investigate, but we really can't test that. So we might change that question to something like this: how does changing the amount of water affect the growth of tomatoes? So much more specific. We have a controlled variable, an independent variable, the amount of water, and we could go out and do that experiment. What makes something float? That seems like a very general question, something interesting. But why won't we change it a little bit to say, how does changing the type of fruit affect its ability to float in water? And I'll just kind of go through one more. How do rockets work? Maybe that's something you're interested in. But a better question would be, how does changing the shape of a rocket's fins affect its ability to fly? Okay, so we're looking for something that we could specifically change to choose as our independent variable to help us go through a controlled experiment. Hopefully that helps. If you have questions, please reach out. Thanks.